Hello everyone, welcome to Applications Manager free training series in digital experience monitoring. Let's jump into today's agenda. We are going to cover overall four parts in this session, and in the first part, we will discuss how you can measure your website performance and changes in real time. In the second part, we will explore how you can proactively identify and resolve potential issues that impact users through synthetic transaction monitoring. In the third part, we will be looking at how you can analyze the user behavior patterns to gain insights into your front end performance. Lastly, we will discuss how you can enhance your web performance to safeguard your brand reputation. Part 1, measure website performance and track the changes in real time. So, in this modern digital era, most businesses uses web platforms to reach potential customers to showcase their product or solutions. So, websites have become extremely popular as a medium for establishing a brand image and contributing significantly to the business success. Further, well planned websites with good performance can capture the attention of target audience, increasing the probability of converting them into valuable paying customers. According to an article published on browserstack.com, 47% of consumers expect a web page to load in 2 seconds or less than that. Additionally, 40% of people abandon a website that takes more than 3 seconds to load. Further, a 1 second delay in web page response can result in a 7% reduction in conversions. So if your website is unavailable or has a poor responsiveness, end users won't be able to engage with your pages, which can significantly impact your business reputation. So to ensure your website's effectiveness, we should avoid performance hiccups and create a seamless digital experience for users. So website performance monitoring is essential as it provides insights into your website's availability and critical metrics as well. So helping you to improve the website's reliability. So the first step in a digital experience is the interaction that the user have with the website. So when a user tries to access it, the site must be available. Website downtime and slowness are the major concerns for businesses. So where frequent downtime and slowness can make you lose site reliability among loyal customers and create a bad impression on the user level. So several factors can cause website downtime and slowness, like scheduled maintenance, which is a temporary period function when a site or application is taken offline for updates, backups, or maintenance. The second one would be the data center problems or server errors. So when there is a data center problem or a server error, the user request may not even reach the server. Next would be the bugs in code. So when there is a bug in a code, it may cause errors to prevent that site from loading or resulting in slow loading times. So further, due to high traffic, when too many people try to access the website simultaneously, it may not handle to occupy the load. And hacking events, obviously, hacking events like suspicious activities by the hackers can cause the website to slow down or go offline. Finally, when your SSL certificates have expired, it can cause the website to slow down or become unavailable. So to prevent the problems like this, you can use Applications Manager's URL Monitor to ensure 24/7 website availability. The URL Monitor acts as a continuous service that keeps constant watch over a specific URL or web page. As everyone loves a fast website, with improvements in broadband speeds and superfast internet nowadays, expectations about website speed have changed. The response time of a website determines its speed, which is how long it takes for your web server to connect and send data packets to a user's browser. A website with minimal latency can leave a good impression on customers and help lower bounce rates. So, Applications Manager URL Monitor tracks your website's response time, breaking into the components like DNS time, connection time, first byte time, and the last byte time. So the first byte time in particular indicates how quickly the website is performing for the users. Also, we support root cause diagnosis, which helps you to troubleshoot issues and reduce the mean time to resolution. So you can also perform content checks to ensure the availability of your URLs, making it a comprehensive solution for monitoring and maintaining your website performance. So now let me quickly take you to the Applications Manager user interface and demonstrate how this URL monitor works. This is how the Applications Manager user interface looks like. So first we need to click on the new monitor, add new monitor. So under this add new monitor page, we have categorized the supported technologies in Applications Manager on the left side. As we are going to add the HTTP URL monitor, I'm just choosing the web server services. Here I can find the HTTPS URL monitors. By clicking on it, we can mention a display name for our as per our convenience. So after that, we need to provide the specific URL that we would like to monitor. After choosing the polling interval and timeout seconds, we need to move on to the HTTP configurations. We need to choose the form submission method, whether it is a post method or a get method. If any custom parameters you have, you need to mention those parameters as well. After that, we have the basic any authentication if you have on your web application. So you can configure the same over here. So you can mention the username and password of the credentials, or if you already added those credentials in Applications Manager, so under the credential list, you can choose out the specific credential. So let's say if you have configured a SAML or ADFS authentication on your web on your application. So in that case, you can add those authentication as well. So by clicking on the add new SAML authentication, so you can provide the service provider details like the name and the URL you would like to, the redirect URL and the form submission method. If there are any custom headers available, you can mention those custom headers details and also the SSL version. Once after providing those service provider details, you can go to the Active Directory Federation service details. So here you can mention those specific sign-in URL, ADFS user credentials like the username and password, and which the username identifier. You can mention those username identifier, passwords, and everything, yeah, as well as the ACS URL. So once after configuring this, you can able to add the SAML authentication as well. So for that, you can add the error if the response code as per your requirement. So if any of the currently by default, so if any of the response code is above 200, you will it will try to immediately it will try to detect those specific error. If any user agent available, you can mention those. After mentioning the custom headers and selecting the SSL version, we do have the content check as well. So in this content check, you can mention a specific word. For example, I'm just mentioning like monitor. So here I'm mentioning as a monitor. If any applications manager will try to specify this specific word in your web application. So and you can also mention that should not contain word. If any a sensitive word you would like to uh, choose as a not content, you can mention that specific word as well, and you can also do case sensitive key search as well. So after mentioning all the credentials and the required details from your end, you can click on the add monitor. So once the monitor is added, it will be available under the monitors tab. Under the web server services, we can find the URL monitor. Right? Yes. So here we can have the URL monitor. So as per the polling interval, the data collection will be happen. So under the monitor information, we can see the configuration details like the monitor name details and the polling interval. Whatever the details that we given for monitoring, we can see those specific information. On the right side, we can see the complete availability details. So if you scroll down even more, we can see the performance for the last 1 hour, like the response time, and as well the split up of the response time. On the right side, we can see the tabular data of it. So if we want to configure any alarm for any of the attribute like the average response time or the current response time, we can configure alarms as well. So under next to the response time splitter, we can have the attribute level like the DNS time, the connection time, the first byte and the last byte as I mentioned. Here are we have the details. According to these details, if we want to configure alarms, we can configure alarms as well. So this is how the URL monitor works in Applications Manager. Part 2, we can move on to the part 2 now. So in the part 2, we're going to see about proactively identifying and resolving potential issues that may impact the users through synthetic transaction monitoring, and we can see why it is essential as well. So in today's age of instant gratification, users expect a seamless, issue-free experience on your website. While monitoring website availability and response time gives you a general idea on whether your website is operational, it does not ensure that the users can perform transactions without any issues. To truly understand the user experience on your website, synthetic transaction techniques are necessary. So here are some of the benefits of using the synthetic transaction monitoring. The first one is you can analyze the performance from an end user's perspective through synthetic transaction monitoring that involves assessing the website's performance as experienced by a typical user, which helps to identify issues that might otherwise go unnoticed. Further, you can test the performance of critical user paths on your website by recording complex workflows using the web transaction recorder. For example, consider a process of navigating to an e-commerce website, logging in, searching for a product, adding the product to the cart, processing to the payment gateway, and logging out. So synthetic monitoring allows you to record such complex workflows to keep an eye on important transactions happening on your website. So if any error occurs during the logout phase or payment gateway phase, it helps to identify these issues before the end users encounter them. Further, you can dynamically track their website's availability and performance from an end user's location using the end user monitoring agents. So one of the main advantages is the ability to monitor the website's performance of your website from your user locations. So this ensures your website meets its service level and business level objectives by verifying whether these SLAs are being met, so you can gain a clear view of your service level agreements. Let's see how applications manager a real browser monitoring, which is a synthetic transaction monitoring, works. So this feature is also launches the actual browser like the Firefox from multiple geographical locations and tracks how website elements load from these locations and simulates the user experience. So first, it simulates business critical processes using Selenium based scripting. Every action performed during the recording, such as hovering or clicking on an element, is saved in a Selenium script file. Then Applications Manager opens a real browser such as Chrome or Firefox and replays the recorded transaction to identify any errors during the specific playback. So once done, all performance metrics are published on the monitoring dashboards. Also, it allows you to take screenshots during the playback. The main advantage of synthetic transaction monitoring is that it enables testing from different locations, whether enterprise branches or actual user locations. To facilitate monitoring across multiple locations, we use end user monitoring agents. For example, if you are hosting an event at your office and have created a registration form, it's important that employees from all branch offices can register without any issues. To test this critical workflow, you can use Applications Manager Real Browser Monitoring. First, you need to install the end user monitoring agent in all your branch offices. Next, you can record the process of filling out and submitting the registration form your main office. The same transaction will be executed in your branch office using these agents, which will send the data back to the applications manager. This setup allows you to verify that workflow operates smoothly and error free across all your locations. Also, end user monitoring agents provide enhanced visibility into your user experience and help identify potential performance issues. So these agents can be installed in branch office across different cities or directly on the end user system as well. All that is required a secure HTTPS connection between the agent and applications manager console. Now let me quickly take you to the user interface and show you how this real user monitoring works. I hope everyone can see my screen now. So when it's come to the real browser monitoring, first we need to deploy a agent in any of the specific branch office according to our requirement. So once the agent has been deployed, so we can see this specific end user monitoring agent gateway. Here we need to enter the UM API key. So that key is found under the settings, REST API, under the end user monitoring. Just copying the key and pasting it over here, we can able to log in. Once we have successfully logged into the end user monitoring agent, so there we can see the proxy configurations if anything is added, and as well if there are any specific Chrome changes. So when you by default when you install a agent, it will have a built-in Firefox recorded. So with the help of the specific Firefox recorder, the transactions will be done using the Firefox browser. So if you want to configure the transaction using the Edge browser or a Chrome browser, we have separate prerequisites to be configured. So once it has been configured, we need to go to new monitor, add new monitor. Under the web server services, we can have the real browser monitoring. So in this page, there are two options as I mentioned. So one is the web transaction recorder. The other option is the import Selenium test case. So if you are going to use the web transaction recorder, we need to use this transaction using a Chrome based plugin in order to do that specific transaction, or else we can use this Selenium test case as well. So I will show you how this transaction recorder works. So we need to mention the host name, mention the port, mention the API key as well. So once after getting into those specific transaction, we can able to record the specific transaction, and that specific transaction can be added for monitoring. Now I will show you how this specific monitoring works for the real browser monitoring and what are the details that we are going to monitor over here. So once we have recorded a sequence of transaction, so it will be available for monitoring and we can see the health and availability status. So under here, we can have the EUM agents. So currently we have only one agent monitoring a one specific transaction from one specific location. So let's say if you have a multiple agents deployed on multiple locations, in that case, you can monitor all the agents will be displayed according to the location. So from this specific agent location, the average page load time and the transaction time as per this configuration. So if I get into this REL browser monitoring under the performance overview, I can see the availability history for the last 6 hours and the performance history. Even if I scroll down a little bit, I can see the average page load time and the transaction time in a pictorial chart view. Further, we can also see the page load times as per the steps. So currently in this specific real browser monitoring, we have recorded a 5 steps over here, and the each steps response time, page load time can be viewed over here. If we want to configure any alarm, we can configure the same over here. Apart from this, if we scroll down even more, as I mentioned about these 5 steps, so these are all the 5 steps that we have recorded over here, 4 and 5. So under this 5 step, we can have a pie chart view of the resource size and the resource count. So if I hover to any of the resource size, I can see in this specific step, in this specific page of this application website, I can see the CSS is occupied, size is a 6.5%, and the script is occupied as 10.5, and it has a 2.7 percentage of HTML. And the major occupied by this specific website is the image size. Same applies to the resource count as well. If I scroll down even more, I can see the front end transaction level. So I hope in the last webinar you have seen something, the application performance monitoring, which is a in-depth view of the in-depth transaction details of your application. Here we have the front end details of the application in a waterfall chart view. By hovering to the specific transaction, we can see the attributes like the redirection time, network latency, if any, and the secure connection time and the download time as per the specific transaction level. And this is how the real browser monitoring works. Let's move on to the use cases of the synthetic transaction monitoring. So, so what are the some scenarios where your business might benefit from synthetic transaction monitoring? First, you can use it to compare your website's performance with your competitors by setting up benchmark scenarios. You can also track how your application performs over time and compare your company's performance to top competitors within a specific historical time frame or geographical region. So this approach helps you to develop a strategic outlook and maintain a competitive edge in the marketplace. Next, with the help of the synthetic transaction monitoring, you can test a new features. Since testing is a crucial during the early stages of application development, synthetic monitoring provides baselines and thresholds that helps you to identify potential obstacles in real time. Further, you can assess the performance of third-party applications. Today's websites are increasing rely on third-party features such as customer reviews, web analytics, social networking, SEO add-ons, and video content. If any of these elements fail, it can negatively impact your website. Synthetic transaction monitoring help you to keep track of these third-party applications, alerting you to any performance degradation or downtime issues. So this is essential for managing service level agreements and holding the third party applications. If certain transactions time is slower than usual, you can confirm that the third party application may be underperforming. So lastly, synthetic monitoring also provides direct feedback and performance issues, allowing your team to identify the root cause, engage the right experts, and resolve problems before they impact the users. Now we will move on to the next part. analyzing real user behavior patterns to gain insights into your front-end performance. So first, what is the real user monitoring? Real user monitoring involves capturing users' interaction with a website in real time. It helps you to analyze how your end users sense your website. As businesses expand digitally and globally, your websites can access accessed from various devices and locations. It's crucial to provide a consistent user experience across all geographies and devices. However, user experience can be affected by factors like network latency, operational issues, trouble retrieving resource, and slow ISPs. What works well in one browser might not work in another browser. This is where real user monitoring proves valuable. It allows you to understand why your website performance is poorly in specific regions and also identifies any overlooked issues affecting page load times and determine why users abandon pages. This information helps you to optimize your website's performance. Unlike synthetic monitoring, which tests a website before users interact with it, real user monitoring actually observes the interactions within the users interacting within your website. To understand why real user monitoring is essential, we first need to consider the drawbacks of synthetic transaction monitoring. One of the major limitation of synthetic transaction monitoring is that it does not always align with reality. The traffic used for synthetic testing is artificial and not representative of real users' experience. As a result, its outcomes and performance are often predictable as synthetic monitoring relies on simulated actions rather than a real user behavior. Another drawback in the time is the time consuming nature of incident resolution. So when you receive complaints from the end users in real time, synthetic monitoring data does not reveal what the user was actually doing or experiencing. So to identify issues, you would need to analyze performance for every critical transaction and create scripts for synthetic testing, which can be a quite time consuming and tedious. Lastly, synthetic monitoring offers a narrow view of performance. It cannot capture the rich diversity and performance variables present in the real world, and the usage, which does not monitor the actual users. So, consequently, you only receive a limited perspective on your application performance. So, how does a real user monitoring works in Applications Manager to facilitate data collection and reporting? The RUM agent, which is a real user monitoring agent, is deployed on the server where the application is hosted, or you need to deploy it on a specific server where Applications Manager server can able to communicate. So once done, a small Java snippet generated by the Applications Manager needs to be placed in the header or footer section of your HTML code in the front end landing page of your application that you would like to monitor. So once the JavaScript snippet is loaded, it acts as the core component and collects performance data and continuously transmits it to the RUM agent. Then the RUM agent will communicate between the JavaScript code and the applications manager web client describing the captured data. So real user monitoring in Applications Manager helps you to analyze the front-end performance across various geographies, internet service providers, browsers, and devices, allowing you to proactively assess how these factors impact website performance and ensures a smooth digital experience. You can measure end user satisfaction, identify poorly performing web transactions, and understand user satisfaction levels through AppTech score. So AppDeck score is nothing but a complete performance. As per the complete performance of your website, this score can be given. So additionally, you can gain comprehensive insights into domain resources and user sessions, quickly identify errors, and evaluate the impact of any new change. Lastly, It will help you to detect JavaScript errors, prevent users from experiencing service issues, and analyze how recent change affects the overall user's experience. So now let me show you how this real user monitoring works within the applications manager directly. So on the same applications manager user interface, so once after deploying the agent in a specific application server or any server, you need to make sure the connection between the applications manager and the agent server is reachable. So once after making those connections and cross verifying everything, the second thing would be the ad monitor. So under the ad monitor, same web server services, we need to click on the real user monitor. So here we need to provide the display name as per our convenience and the URL we would like to monitor. Next, the apdex score threshold. So this threshold can be based on the overall response time. So you can given this after giving this apdex threshold in milliseconds, you can move on to the application type framework type, whether it is a traditional application or a single page application. So if it is a traditional application, we can able to track the ajax call and the track cross domain ajax call as well. So if it is a single page applications, only we can track the cross domain ajax call as well. So next, if you want to exclude any specific domains, we can exclude them. And if you want to exclude any user agents available, we can exclude them as well. Further, we can select whether we want to track the resource performance, and we would like to uh, use this option in order to, if you uh, want to affect the monitor availability. So if it is in the idle state, the application, so whether you want to affect the availability, you can configure this. So after that, you can select the specific agent that was deployed. So once after giving all this configuration details, we can add it as a monitor. So once the monitor has been added, so it will be available under the monitor tab, under the web server services, real user monitoring. So on the copy script tab, so this is the JavaScript snippet I'm talking about. So this script need to be injected in the front end landing page of your web application with the help of your application team. So once this snippet has been injected and after the restart of the agent, the data collection will be started. So under the summary tab, we have the aptech score. So this aptech score is based on the overall performance and response time of your application. So according to this aptech score, we can identify whether our users are satisfied, tolerating, or frustrated. And in the summary page, we can have the complete details of the real user monitor, which is also available in the each tab. So I will show you in the each tab to have a better understandable. So here under the geographic tab, we can have the complete world map view. So users can be access your application from all around the world. Here we can have the comparison data between in which region how my application is performing. For example, if I hover to the India region, I can see the apdex score is what the average response time is 919 milliseconds, and the page views and the throughput details and the error count details. The same, if I hover to the China region, I can see the apdex score is 1. The average response time is only 379 milliseconds. So which clearly defines that compared to the China region, users accessing our application from the India region having a high response time. Same like other countries. So whatever the countries and whatever the regions the users are accessing our application can be tracked and shown over here. So this is a complete aptX score. So if I want to classify into the average response time and the page views from the specific region and the error count from the specific region, I can identify over here. So if I scroll down even more, I can see the table-wise data of the regions in which my application are accessed. So here I can see from Russia, USA, India, and China, my application has been accessed. And we have the apdex score over here, and we can have the comparison of the average response time. Here I can clearly see the China users are having a lower response time, which means they are having a good very comfortable in using my application compared to the Russia users having the high response time. So these kind of comparison between the geographical level we can have using a real browser monitoring. So if I click on the ISP tab, we can see the internet service providers that are associated, and for users are using what all the ISP providers users are using. So we have the separate prerequisites for this specific ISP data collection. So once after completing those prerequisites, we can see for the ISP internet services providers our users are using. So here I can see these are all the internet service providers I have. So compared to the VYang service provider, the LNPA service provider users are using this LNPA service provider, having a lower response time, which makes them comfortable in accessing my application compared to this VPN or Asian Net service provider. LNPA service provider users are using this provider facing some having some good comfortable within accessing our application. The next one would be the browsers. So here is one of the main features. So if we click on the browser tab, we can see the response time by the browser split up. If I hover to any time frame, I can see the on this specific time frame the Chrome users having the high response time compared to the Firefox iOS users. If I scroll down even more, I can see the browser usage split up. So compared to the other browsers, Chrome users are users using the Chrome are accessing my application comparatively high. And here we also we can have the tabular data shows the complete browser summary. So within this data, I can identify, okay, so compared to the Edge browser, users accessing my application using the Firefox iOS having the high response time. Same like compared to the Chrome browser, Firefox users having the high response time. So with the help of this type of comparison, we can optimize our application's performance. Apart from the browser, we have this device type as well. So same chart can be shown over here. So if I hover to the any specific time frame on this pictorial beautiful chart view, I can see iOS users are having the high response time compared to the Windows users. And same like when it's come to the device usage setup, iOS devices and the users accessing my applications using a Windows device is more than the iOS users. Also here I have the pie chart view on the top viewport, the connection type and the device memory gig utilization. And finally, under the device summary, we can have the detailed split up of the devices and the response time. As I mentioned, iOS devices are having a high response time, average response time, compared to the Windows users. So, which clearly states that Windows users are very comfortable in accessing our application. So same like this web page tab. So this web page tab will showcase the front end level transaction of our specific application. Here we can have sort out by the total count or the data throughput according to our convenience. So under this specific server.2 is one of the transaction that have the higher response time in accessing. Total 52 times it was accessed, and this is the throughput that has been taken, and the average page size to load is around 151 KB. So these are the split up details available under the web pages tab. Here we also have the user sessions. So these user sessions can be tracked in real user monitoring using the custom API. So for a specific time frame, we can see total 5 users have accessed our application, and currently there is no active users, so total sessions is 6, and the average viewing time per user is around 1 minute and 19 seconds. In total average 687 pages has been navigated by the users. Here if I scroll down even more, I can see the uh, detailed view of the users in split up. So here I can see on this specific time frame with this user ID, there is a user named Ria is accessed our application using the Edge browser in a Windows device from this region and navigated to pages. Same like other users have been accessed from different browser from different devices. Now I want to understand whether the specific users from this Bob using a Chrome browser, using a Mac OS from this specific region, is satisfied with my application and is very whether he is comfortable or not. So in that case, I can just select the Bob. So under the Bob, I can see the complete transaction details or drill down details and which time he started, and the user experience is satisfied. So with the help of these user sessions, I can able to identify users from this specific region using this specific device. Okay, they are satisfied within the performance of my application. Same like the resources. The resources is something we have for nowadays. Our websites are depends on the first party and the third party resources. So how it is performing using the third party or the first party resources, and according to the specific resources associated with our application, we can able to identify the domain details and the average resource time and the average response time and the total count as well. Next, we can move on to the Ajax call. So what are the Ajax calls that are available within the transaction can be able to seen over here. And apart from the Ajax call, we can have the JavaScript error. If any JavaScript error identified within your web application, within your website, those errors can be identified and shown over here. So total for this specific URL, we have the 156 errors and currently two pages in two files and three users were affected. If I scroll down a little bit even more, these are all the errors that has been reported, and what is the error type, and in which file, I mean, the which transaction the error was reported, and in which page. So this is the page that the error was reported, and users accessed from these browsers have faced that specific error, and what are all the users were affected using the JavaScript error. If any specific domain available, we can see that domain details as well. So this is how the real user monitoring works in applications manager. Now we have covered both real user monitoring and synthetic transaction monitoring. Let's discuss how they complement each other and provide significant benefits for your website. First, let's talk about correlating business with performance. Synthetic monitoring offers performance data that helps identify issues like slow page load times, network bottlenecks. However, to understand how web performance affects business revenue, you need more than just synthetic performance metrics. So real user monitoring provides a crucial insights into actual business metrics such as conversion rates, which can be correlated within the ongoing performance data collected from synthetic testing. This correlation helps in assessing how performance impacts revenue. Next, consider identifying issues before users encounter them. Problems are inevitable regardless of where applications are hosted. Synthetic monitoring is highly effective in spotting configuration issues caused by off hours maintenance or other changes. So which allowing you to address these problems before users being accessing your service. So real user monitoring is most valuable measuring application responsiveness for each live user during peak hours. When it comes to troubleshooting outages, combining synthetic and real user monitoring data can be incredibly helpful. If a synthetic test fails or triggers an alert, real user monitoring data will show the real time impact on the user experience. Similarly, if real user monitoring data reveals a performance anomaly, you can use a synthetic testing to replicate the issues across the various internet service providers and geographical locations. This approach allows you to gather data from multiple vantage points and pinpoint the root cause, which may be in the data path between the end users and your application services. Now we are into the final part of today's session, enhancing web page performance to safeguard your brand reputation. So what is a web page analyzer and why you need one? Synthetic transaction monitoring and real user monitoring provide insights into website performance and from an end user perspective. The applications manager, the application manager's web page analyzer monitoring allows you to perform detailed web page analysis, track your web pages, and optimize performance using page speed rules and suggestions. Further, it helps identify the specific factors that are slowing down your website, and page speed insights is an online tool that identify performance best practices for any website, offering suggestions for optimization and overall ideas on how you can make your web application faster. So what does the web page analyzer in applications manager exactly does? The web page analyzer tracks and provides insights into various key metrics, helping you to identify and effectively manage your web pages. So during each poll, the applications manager loads the web page in a Firefox in a controlled state and captures a real-time data on various performance metrics. So with a web page analyzer, you can receive information on response time, a domain summary, performance scores, and suggestions. Additionally, you can get request tracking with a waterfall chart. So this chart visually represents critical metrics related to each transaction as the components of the web page to load. By tracking these transactions, the web page analyzer helps you to identify components that are loading slowly, allowing you to address potential issues and ensure optimal website performance. So I will take you to the user interface now and show you how this web page analysis works to understand better. So we are back in the user interface. So under the new monitor, add new monitor, same under the web server services, I'm choosing a web page analyzer. Similar to the URL monitor, we need to provide the display name and the web page URL we would like to monitor, the page load time, and the page load time. After choosing the HTTP method, whether it is a GET method or a POST method, we can have the custom HTTPS or HTTP or HTTPS header according to our convenience. After providing the username and password, if you have any, we can move on to the domains to block. If you want to block any specific domain, you can choose this, and you can add the same like URL marking. We can add the content for response check. So once after adding those necessary details, if you have the SSL enabled for your certificate monitoring, so let's say you have the applications enabled for a SSL certificate, you can mention those SSL certificate details over here, which will help you to monitor the expiry date of your SSL certificate in the same web page analyzer as well. So even we have a separate monitoring for SSL certificate, this feature is available inbuilt within the web page analyzer as well. So after providing the SSL certificate details, we can test the credential and add it as a monitor. So once it's added as a monitor, here under the category view, we can have the web page analyzer over here. Yes, so under the overview tab, we can see the availability history for the last 6 hours and the performance history. After that, we can have the web page summary. So when it's come to the web page summary, we can see the URL that we given for monitoring and what is the page load time and what is the total request it is getting in and the complete page size of your application. So if we added if we enabled the SSL monitoring over here, we can see the days for the SSL certificate expiry as well. So if you scroll down a little bit more, you can see the response time summary in a chart, like the DNS time, connection time, and the first byte time, etc. So in the domain summary, we can have the complete domain details available within the IP address and what is the request that the each domain has been received and what is the average response time and the throughput time. So let's say if I want to configure an alarm for the specific domain in order to get alerted for the average response time. So in that case, I can configure alarms based on a specific threshold value. So under the network tab, this is the beautiful waterfall chart that I have spoken previously. So in this waterfall chart, I can able to filter out and see the content like the HTML content and the CSS content and the JavaScript content, which is a front end transaction details available for the specific website. So by hovering to the specific, okay, this specific transaction resource name have taken a higher response compared to the other. If I hover to this specific waterfall chart, I can see the complete attribute details like the redirection time, secure connection time, network latency, download time, and the blocking time as well. So this waterfalls is a uh, complete chart that shows the front end level performance and the transaction level details. Under the resource details, we can see the complete request summary and how much HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and image details we have on this specific application. So if I want to compare a CSS or within the HTML type, I can compare the number of requests between those both in a chart view as well. So after we can doing this comparison as per your convenience. Here also we can have the screenshots that I've taken from the web page analyzer. According to these screenshots, we can able to identify what are the resource size and the resource count available on this specific website single page. So here I can see in this specific page, the occupied size of is 64 percentage of script, and the image is around 14% and others 7.4%, and the CSS is overall around 10.5%, and it has a HTML size around 3.6%. So apart from this resource details, this is one of the main features available, which is called the page speed insights. So under this page speed insight, it will give you a score based on the application or the website performance. So here I can see avoid bad requests is scored around 95%. So if I drop down this specific avoid bad request, I can see this specific transaction requests are returning in a non-existent. It is asking you to check this specific PNG. Is a PNG image available in the applications, which is by optimizing that specific transaction, we can improve the score to avoid the bad request. So according to this, I can see this can be graded in alphabetic order. So this is graded. It's not something graded very well. So if I drill down the specific defer pressing of JavaScript, there are some JavaScript errors that has been placed during the monitoring of this application. So according to this specific URLs, if we optimize with the help of our website team or application team, we can improve the score of our page speed, which will simultaneously helps us to improve our performance for the end users as well. This is how the web page analyzer looks in applications manager. So now here we have the brand reputation monitor that helps prevent your website from being blacklisted. So it provides insights into whether your site has been identified as suspected of malware, phishing, deception, or containing unauthorized software. So additionally, you will be notified if any of your pages are marked as unsafe. So let me quickly jump into the App Manager UI and show how this brand reputation monitor works as well. As we are in the back in the user interface, same like under the new monitor, add new monitor, web server services, we can have this brand reputation monitor over here. Okay, so let me choose over here that the new monitor. Yes. So by clicking on the brand reputation monitor, so we can provide a custom display name and the web page URL that we would like to monitor. So after checking and making sure the connectivity is working fine, we can add it as a monitor. So once it's added as a monitor, it will be available for monitoring like this. Under the monitors tab, we can identify the brand reputation monitor over here. Here it is. Yes, under the monitor information, we can see the basic information of the name and the poll data. Under the overview page, we can see the complete availability details specifically for the application or a website. And currently, there is no malware count and the phishing or any unwanted software count that has been added to this specific web application. Here we have everything safe over here. If any malware was suspected, it can be a threat. So these details can be is provided with the help of Google Advisory. So they are providing these details. We have a tie with Google, and they are providing these details in order to safeguard our web application. So currently, this specific URL is fine from any of the suspected malware or the phishing or any of the unwanted software. So this is how the brand reputation monitor works in applications manager. So far we have discussed a few many things, and now let's have a quick recap on today's session. So in the first part, we have discussed on how to monitor individual URLs to improve user experience. Next, we explored how we can analyze issues in critical workflow using synthetic transaction monitoring. In the third segment, we saw how synthetic transaction monitoring can provide insights beyond the app only view. In the fourth part, we covered how to understand real user monitoring with the experience, real user with the help of the real user monitoring, and concluded by discussing on how we can optimize the web pages using the web page analyzer and a brand reputation monitor. Thank you everyone for your valuable time and participation. Have a nice day.